Welcome, everybody, to the 50th episode of the Indispensable Conversation podcast. Really excited about this, and I'm super excited to welcome the one and only Monte Pedersen. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Monte, he heads up the CDA group. It's an independent leadership training firm that specializes in strategy execution. But the fact is, he's really all about getting results. And it's this focus that makes him the perfect guest to tackle the question with us today. And it's this: do you have to stay hungry to be outstanding? Joining me in welcoming Monte to the Indispensable Conversation. Welcome to the show, Monte.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm honored. Number 50. That's if you're talking about results, that's a pretty good result. Although I do remember who's the marketing guy, Seth, the guy who's really famous.
Oh.
He does a really short blog. Somebody I know was trying to get him on their podcast, and his retort to that individual was, call me when you've done 175.
Okay,
So,
well, I'll wait then. But let's jump right in.
Sure.
You think, Monte, do you think that we have to stay hungry to be outstanding?
I'm going to answer this in two ways. The first way is kind of going to be the traditional way, and not a very exciting answer, but I would say it depends, right? Because if you're really goal oriented as a person, you know what drives you. You know you need those things to motivate you and to get you to where you want to go. But what if your goal orientation is, I just want to be content and stable and lead a sedentary lifestyle and hang out at my desk and read books, and so you could be outstanding at doing that, right? So I just think as individuals, we're all different, and so you have to take into consideration, our temperament and our differences, and just they're almost like degrees of being hungry. Right?
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I mean, I think everyone defines outstanding their own way. So, sure, there's going to be differences in that. I think metaphorically, staying hungry sort of conveys that idea of continuous ambition and drive and a willingness to keep learning and improving. And I think that's sort of a formula for anyone to stay on top of their game, if you can have those things. Just yesterday, I asked a small group of thought leaders the same question, and they immediately wanted to substitute the word excited for hungry. And of course, the rationale was, we want to, stay excited because that's where our interests lie and so on. And I can't argue with the point, but I do wonder, which is more important to high achievement? Hungry implies tenacity, at least in my definition. Excited implies interest. So I don't know. What do you think? Which is more important?
Everybody gets excited at one time or another, and in a certain context that might be appropriate. But I think hunger captures it so much better. If I'm not sure where you came up with that, or if it was just something that popped into your mind. But the origins of that, at least where it got popularized, was Steve Jobs' graduation speech to a class at Stanford, and he certainly embodied that idea, right? So if he's using it, and he was tenacious about. I mean, like, his engineers brought him great stuff, and he told them it wasn't good enough. So,
right.
That's sort of the quintessential definition of staying hungry.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that it's going to be a blending of both of those qualities, ultimately to be a true quote unquote success, however you define it. You've got to stick with it, and you've got to be interested, right? But I'm wondering, in regard to that interplay between tenacity and excitement, if I could only have a staffer with one of those qualities, give me tenacity every time, because they're going to stick with it. And I think when you stick with something, you tend to be able to master it. And then the things that you master, you get excited about, you become more interested in. So if I could only have one trait, I'm looking for someone who's got, the stick-to-itiveness to see it through.
Yeah, you can't teach that.
No, right. I feel that way. I don't think you can. Well, let's play with that for a second. Do you think you can teach someone to be ambitious?
No. I come from the camp that you can inspire, get back to that word excitement, right? You can get people excited about something and inspire them on, but they've got to motivate themselves. They've got to, have accountability. They've got to do what's necessary. And again, that's in a lot of people, that's not teachable.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel that way too. And it's sort of a shift to the inner game, right? So if we were to maybe consider this for a second, how does mindset play in regard to the thirst for top performance or high performance?
It plays a lot, and especially as it relates to to growth. Because if you have a forward-looking mindset, then the only thing that's standing between you and success is what you have in front of you today and tomorrow. And a lot of people, don't have that, right? They just like we were talking pre-broadcast here about looking at things through our previous lens. It gets dangerous, and there are just a lot of people that are living off past laurels and thinking that things should still be the same, and they're not. They're completely different. And if you can't come to terms with that and apply it to what you've got to accomplish going forward, you're not going to succeed. Failure is definitely going to follow.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Monty. I feel like everything that we do begins between our own two ears. So mindset is critical. And you've got to maintain, I think, for top performance, you've got to maintain curiosity and passion and a desire, for growth. That's crucial. And understanding that effort is really kind of a path to mastery, like we were talking about a moment ago. It's in my mind, a central tenet to the kinds of things that I call a winner's mindset that I work with and my coaching clients on. Because if they adopt that kind of a mindset, curious, passionate, desire for growth, then they recognize hard work's part of that equation, and that's going to be their path to excellence.
Yeah. I like that a lot, because I don't know if you're familiar with conscious leadership, but that's one of the tenets, right? Being open-minded and really hungry really fits, right? You don't close off. You're open to alternative suggestions. You're all about growing and learning and improving, and again, that's part of being hungry.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. Well, let me forge it in the form of a question for you, Monty. How does one stay motivated to achieve?
I think you have to have a system or a framework, for how you do that. Because if we make decisions, right? We like to think that we're all rational thinkers, but we make a lot of our decisions, on emotions. And when our emotions carry us, we tend to go in 6 or 7 different directions.
Right.
And so if you have a process or a framework for how you want to, how you want to accomplish things, you're probably already doing it better than 90% of the people out there.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not counting out, sheer luck and determination. There are people that forge it that way. It's a harder path, but if you have a system for how you approach things, and you break those things apart into smaller milestones and understandable pieces, your chances of understanding what it is you want to do and how you're going to get there, they're going to become clear to you, and you're going to be able to execute on it.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. That last thought about breaking down your goals into smaller, more manageable pieces, I think is a critical way to stay motivated, because you gradually have the opportunity to build momentum. So those little small successes can help boost your motivation. And just this morning, there was an exchange on LinkedIn, and the person had put out this really great post about taking first steps towards achieving a goal and the courage that's required to do that. And I jumped on it. I just felt like that was a really beautiful thought that she had. And that, yeah, it is about having the faith that if we take that first step, it's going to be okay, that we're going to be okay, and we're going to get closer to achieving the kinds of things that we want to achieve out there, at least professionally. And I think the other thing on this, in regard to staying motivated, is you've got to look for opportunities to get outside of your comfort zone. Right? So it's about taking that first step as well, right? Get out of your comfort zone and take on new challenges so that things stay interesting for you and you have the opportunity to develop new skills. And that's how you get that inside kind of churn going, and the desire comes from within rather than expecting, say, your boss to turn you on so much that you dive through the wall.
Yeah.
Rather you find that in yourself.
Exactly, or you sit around waiting for it to happen, right? Because that never gets anything. So what I would share there, Jim, is what a lot of people do is they measure the gap between success and what it is they think they should be doing, right? And instead of measuring the gain, and the gain is tied up in those little steps, so that if you can hit the first one, that gives you the confidence to go the next one, and then the next one. And
right.
What we do is we look at the end game and go, crap. I quit. I'm not going to get there. And well, if you think like that, going back to mindset, you're
absolutely right. When you think like that, right? I mean, as someone that does a lot of vision work with clients, I help them develop, vision stories for their organizations, and I'm talking about large corporates. When we're done and we start to socialize the story out into first the employee base and then out to stakeholders, a lot of times people will go, well, yeah, how are we going to get there? And they don't recognize that there's actually effort and initiatives that have to get done to bridge the gap from wherever they are today to where they want to be in the future. So the vision describes the future, and you have a baseline of where you're starting from. Now you've got to identify the projects and programs you need to put into place and execute to move you from where you are to where you want to be. And same is true professionally. In your professional life, you know where you are, point A, you know where you want to be in point B. Now you've got to craft a plan to move you from where you are to where you want to go.
Yeah, you've just hit on the crux of the problem as it relates to strategy execution. That leaders tend to think that execution is intuitive, right? And if that were the case, everybody would be making their budget and their plan 100% every year. But they don't understand what's involved with the implementation piece. And my experience has been it takes 10 times the effort to implement those ideas. It's certainly important for that leader to carry the vision and to continually communicate that vision to the team. I mean, they own that and they need to do that. But you're right. How do you fill in all of the meaningful, purposeful steps that are going to help you realize that vision and get you to the results? And that I would argue, just takes execution. You've got to learn it. It's a separate discipline.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, while we're on the point of vision, let's shift it to visualization. Does visualization matter? Should we dream about success and picture ourselves being successful? Does that matter?
I think it matters to some people. I'm not one of those people, and maybe it's and I'm a very visual guy. I mean, obviously, I can understand things better when I see it, but I think it just depends on what trips your trigger. If you're a very visual person and you think that way, and you're that helps inspire you or gets you motivated, then yeah, I think visualization is. It's like for me, it's hard to sit there and say. I mean, I want to be able to describe what success looks like, but I don't know if I want to like picture myself sitting there experiencing it. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah. Well, no, I love it. I love your candor, and also I got to say, in regard to being, I'm a very visual guy,
Mm-hmm.
and what I love about your posts on LinkedIn is how visual they are. You tend to have those lists. You have kind of use sort of a style cartoon sometimes kind of thing, and I think that's captivating. You're interested, like, what's this, and you stop and you look at it, and I think that's a really powerful way that you are using your visual gifts, to get people engaged with your content. I think that's really important. Terrific.
Yeah, because you're trying to attract. I mean, these people, they call it doom scrolling, right? Where you're just
Yeah.
continually scrolling through. So you've got to have some kind of eye candy or something to grab the attention. And ultimately, my goal is, okay, see the eye candy, appreciate the colors, the cartoon, whatever, but please read my content.
Yeah.
And get so get involved and get more from it, and really the wisdom, or the honey in the hive is located beyond the graphic.
Yeah, for sure. And pull it back to visualization for just a second. I think it's a powerful tool that we have at our disposal to stay motivated. So the real connection for me on visualization is to be able, if you can envision your success, then you can stick with it. You can stick with the toil that it takes to get there. And it also involves self-talk. We've got to improve the way, again, if you're with me, that everything starts between our own two ears, how we talk to ourselves all day long, that inner sort of dialogue that's happening within us, can be used for good or not so good. And I think if you can visualize in a positive way, you can also start to change your beliefs by changing your self-talk. And that counteracts the negative stuff or the self-doubt that you might have to confront when things get tough as you're pursuing your goals.
Absolutely, and that self-talk is related to who you hang with, right? I mean, the people that are around you that have an influence on you, and if you're not getting it from those people, meaning they're not supporting you and being a friend and committed to your success, then you have to do a lot of positive self-talk, because that tends to override, right, what you think. We're social animals, and we think probably too much about what other people think of us when it's really none of our business. It really is between the two ears, and how you approach it.
Well, I love the fact that you brought that up. Let's drill down on that. What role does our support network play in achieving excellence?
They're everything, because they're the glue in the cracks, right? Because there are going to be days when you're not going to feel like doing what you need to do, and if you don't have some form of reinforcement, a mom or a dad or a close friend to pick you up and say, "Dude, you're slacking. This is how we roll." If you want to get this done, then you got to get off your behind and do it.
Yeah.
And not enough of us hear that. Not enough of us have that. We've become this society where, some people call it the participation trophy set, right? Where, you get congratulated for getting out of bed in the morning.
Right.
That's not how you succeed,
No.
yeah, I'm not saying you have to be this radical, Tony Robbins, go at it all, for 10, 12 hours a day kind of mentality. You just got to be, practical about it, and just make sure that you put into place the support mechanisms that are going to help carry you through.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's critical. Besides providing the emotional support during good times and bad, colleagues and mentors, who recognize the potential of your work, right, can promote that work, recommend it to others, endorse your capabilities, contribute to your professional sort of visibility and advancement. And I think it's critical to really develop a supportive network of an extended group of people that you can count on and bounce ideas around with. And like you say, keep you honest too, right? Tell you to get out of bed and get going and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's part of building your personal brand portfolio, right? And there's a lot of value in doing that. Some people call it having a personal board of directors.
Yeah.
Just key people in their life that, when they're, when they have an issue, they can go to them and ask candid questions and get solid answers right there. They're the loving critics, right? The people that love you to death, and they have your best interest at heart, but they'll kick your ass if it needs to be kicked.
Yeah, I mean, you need that. You need some folks to motivate and inspire and root you on, right? Cheer you on. Well, let's go to positive energy, and I'm betting that you're not going to love this question, but is that something high achievers should pay attention to? Do we have to worry about sort of that aura around us and what we're giving off and what we're picking up from others?
I don't know how positive energy works with everybody. I know it's out there, and I see it, and I know people experience it. Again, for me, it's more organic. I get the energy from the results. When something comes to fruition, and it's something that I really maybe didn't firmly believe I could do, all of a sudden you're like going, holy cow, this is wow, I can do this.
Yeah.
And then you start thinking 3x, 5x, 10x, in terms of doing it. That's just how it works with me. I would assume it's probably fairly personal with most people, wouldn't you?
With each person. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's back to the network and being deliberate in building that supportive network, cultivating it, developing the relationships, with people who can be your colleagues, your mentor, your coach. I think it's really important. And I know, in regard to energy for myself, it comes from ideas. It's not about people. I can see the kind of people who really get energized by being around people. They'll walk in a room and immediately they perk up and start smiling and they're giddy. I can walk, up on stage in front of 300 people and give a dynamite speech, but it's the fact that I'm in front of 300 people. It's the fact that I'm really energized by the idea that I'm going to present, because I get my energy from ideas. And if you throw an idea out that I hadn't considered before, I could chew on that all day long. It's going to motivate me, and I'm going to play with it. What's that mean? Just like I was talking about earlier, the group that I kind of listened in on a conversation yesterday, and I got energized because they got after a topic that I hadn't really thought much about. And I said, yeah, okay. Is it, and this is beside the point, but what they were getting at, I think, and no one actually said in these terms, but it's like, what's more valuable, authenticity or fame? And I thought, that's a really good question. I'm going to tackle that in an article. And that's how I usually work through these kinds of things. So it inspired me to write something, and hopefully I find a place to publish it sometime soon.
Yeah, that's a very cool thing. And I think that's the value of having, a network and connecting with people. Nothing happens in a vacuum, right? If you're going to isolate yourself and think you're going to think your way to success, it better be $1 billion idea that nobody's ever thought of, because it's not going to go anywhere. But if you can get around like-minded people and then all of a sudden, stoke their fire a little bit, that's how these things happen.
Sure.
I never dreamed I'd be doing some of the things that I'm doing today, as a result of my, my work and my, my content, strategy development. It's like I just couldn't fathom ever having done those things. But when I look back at it and say, well, this is how it happened. It's like someone gave me a call and said, I think you should do this. and what do you say? Okay.
Give it a try. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing. There's so much going on, I think, with everybody. They've got stuff in the back burner, what I call the back burner, right? It's a thought you have. You maybe don't have time to really work it out when you think about it, but you kind of stow it away and it's back there. And all you need is someone to kind of spark the stove, and you move that thing forward and you start to go, yeah, you know what, I can do this. Because I feel like everything we do prepares us for what we're going to do next. Like who would have guessed I'd do 50 episodes of a podcast? It was nowhere on my radar screen, but I had a colleague that said, you should really do this. You can bring a lot to a conversation. Why don't you try it? And I said, okay. It was COVID, so I decided to start the podcast, and here I am celebrating with you, Monty, 50 episodes in.
Yeah, no, I love that, Jim, and especially because we're these people that just generally talk ourselves out of things, and if you can get it going and you can do it, that's just not your livelihood. That's lifetime achievement stuff, right? You have purpose. You're doing something fun. It makes you happy. It brings you fulfillment. You start to seek out challenges. Like, I guess that, rounding back to the initial topic, it's feeding that hunger, right? It's doing those things that make you happy. And that's, I think that's the secret to success that people miss. And it doesn't have to be a big thing either. It's just, it's what floats your boat.
Yeah. I think that's a huge point you just made. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to change the world.
Yeah.
But we do have to change, and it's a constant thing. And I feel like folks can become bewildered when they're looking at the mountain and they're standing on the road and they're looking up at the mountain and wondering, how the heck do I get up there? And it's sort of one step at a time, right? It's like we said earlier, and you mentioned it, breaking down the big goal into smaller parts, making it manageable.
Yeah, agree.
So, hey, look, we're kind of coming to the end of our time together. I want to make sure that we don't leave anything on the table. So, do you have anything further to sort of leave with our audience today that you think they need to be thinking about to inspire them to do great things?
I would just share with people that the path is hard. The path is going to be difficult. There's no shortcuts. There's no easy routes. There's no life hacks, that are going to help you beyond, an immediate need. So just mentally prepare for that. Life is not clean, and it just, if you want something to happen, you have to put on your big boy and big girl pants and go out and face the world and deal with it. And again, it's a path of discovery, right? You're gonna discover things along the way. You can't if you wait for everything to be put into place to get started, you'll never get started. So just recognize it's hard and know that if you're failing, if you're hurting, if you're having more problems come up, you're probably doing something right.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think we've got to embrace the journey of continuous growth, and mastery, um, and recognize that it's not a destination, but more of a fulfilling, sort of ever evolving process, right? So I'd leave the audience with this idea, stay hungry for knowledge, stay excited about your craft. Let the pursuit of excellence really be the guiding force that transforms your life. And I think if you can embrace that, then you will get to where you want to go, despite the challenges of getting there. Hey,
Yeah, I think
Monty,
that's right.
again, thanks so much for spending so much time with me today. I really appreciate it. You made the 50th episode the best one yet. So thank you.
Awesome. Happy to do it. And maybe we can catch up, in 50 more or so.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks.
Okay. Best wishes to you.
You too.